Like 1 in 8 people have tried a GLP-1.
So look at 8 people out in the street.
One of them has tried it.
Yeah, statistically,
Yeah.
that's wild.
Yeah, I'm not against them by any means. I think that they're really helpful for a lot of people.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to another Creature Feature. As you can see, we are in a nice humble abode, the humble abode of Emma Mans. Thank you for having us today. We're also joined by 2 of her cats.
Yes.
So Luna and
Shredder.
Luna
Yes.
Shredder. So you might have some guest features coming in. Maybe we'll take some questions as well. I'm not sure, but
Maybe.
we'll see how everything proceeds. So anyway, so this podcast is the first time that I'm going to accept mansplaining. So
Okay.
I want you to go ahead and break it down for us. But first off, let everybody know, who's Emma?
Yeah. Well, hello. Thanks for having me on. Sorry, that was Luna, my cat.
Yeah.
I'm a personal trainer. I've been for about 5 years, and for the last 2 years, I've started doing nutrition coaching. I'm finishing up my dietetic internship to become a dietitian.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm very much into wellness and nutrition and all that good stuff.
Nice. So, like, we all kind of have an origin story when it comes to getting in the fitness industry, more or less. So, for you, like, what is your background in fitness? Like, did you like sports, anything like that? And then how did that proceed? No. Like I said, I think Luna's just trying to, make sure to get her to like her moment of fame right now. I'm trying to get on the pod. Yeah. So we will have her later, guys. Don't worry.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
Well, I actually grew up not in sports or anything like that. I grew up not eating the best foods. I had a single mom, pretty low income kind of family vibe. So we ate a lot of fast food. We ate a lot of processed foods, and I didn't really know like what healthy eating really was. Went to college, and my bachelor's was in biology, and I was very stressed. It was very hard. So I kind of turned to food, and I gained a lot of weight my freshman year of college. And I kind of had to have like a wake up call with myself. And that's when I started learning about how to actually eat healthy and how to actually work out properly. And I kind of fell in love with the whole process of it. So I don't have like that typical sports background like a lot of fitness professionals have, but I've kind of had to teach myself a lot of things. And then I changed my degree to nutrition because I loved it so much.
Yeah, which is what's awesome. Like I think it's great to have somebody come from your perspective, is because I think a lot of people when they're starting to get into the fitness like aspect of life, they kind of count themselves out if they don't have a sports background.
Right.
When that's not necessarily true at all. And like you're a good example of like you don't have to have done this stuff for a while or done a sport, anything like along those lines to get into it. It's never too late to start.
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
The best time to start is right now.
Right.
If you haven't already. So when you said like, I remember like everybody talked about this when we first got into our undergrads, like the freshman 15, right? And all that stuff. And it is hard that, especially, I don't want to get too much into like socioeconomics, obviously, but like, that is a problem with a lot of Western countries that like the more readily available, cheaper foods are usually not the quality ones.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's easy to fall upon that situation, but it is, especially, depending on your background, like, got to eat at some point too.
Right.
But for you, coming from the background you have, what was the moment though for you where you're like, something's got to change? And where something clicked to where like, I need to figure something like a different route.
Right. Yeah. Cause I had grown up my whole life being pretty normal weight, healthier BMI. And maybe they'll put a picture on the screen of what I looked like. But I gained about 30, 40 pounds within a year. Yeah. And I had never been through anything like that. And with that came some mental health issues. I started really kind of going through a little bit of depression. I didn't really feel comfortable going in doing things I used to do just because I was so insecure with my body. So, my boyfriend at the time kind of was like, what are we doing here? Like, why don't you want to do the things you used to do with me? And I kind of had to have that like real look in the mirror kind of moment and realize that, I'm using food as an escape, and it's kind of like a comfort thing. So, I had to have that real one-on-one with myself, and then I started losing weight, but it wasn't in the healthiest ways.
Yeah.
I lost all the weight plus some, and it wasn't in a way that I would ever recommend to a client.
Yeah.
So I had to learn the hard way how to make sustainable changes, because it can also really mess with your body if you try to cut your calories too low or overexercise. Even from like a hormonal standpoint, it can
Yeah.
really mess with you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, and I think it's important to talk about that because, it is one of those things that like, for me, like a similar situation, I suppose, was like coming out of being an athlete
Right.
and having to be bigger and then not doing so much activity to where like I started putting, like, I couldn't get weight off.
Right.
And then linking my value as a person too much with the way I looked. And then so I started losing weight in a way I shouldn't have as well. And then having to come to terms with like mentally and physically that I had to be okay with who I was and like doing it for the right reasons.
Right.
And losing the weight and getting in shape, because if I was doing it for the wrong reasons, that it didn't matter really how cut I got or how like much lean muscle mass I put on or how I looked, because I was still not okay with who I was.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's like the underlying principle, I think, for all of that is just like, you have to still look at the mirror and you have to be
Right.
happy with yourself at the end of the day, no matter how you look.
Definitely.
And
Yeah.
so it's definitely one of those things about nutrition and stuff that a lot of people I think overlook, because everybody wants to look a certain way, but it's like, but let's say it's like when you catch whatever you're chasing after, like, are you still going to be happy, or like you're just chasing like the unicorn kind of
Yes.
thing?
Yeah, definitely.
So coming from the background that you've had, and the experiences you had, how would you say that now being a coach, like that helps better inform you and like to direct you when you're working with clients?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things that maybe kind of separates me in a way from a lot of other coaches is that I am kind of able to relate first off to people who are trying to lose weight, and then people who are trying to gain weight, trying to build muscle. And I can kind of point out some red flags that I see if, people are having unhealthy eating behaviors, being very restrictive with their eating, and having kind of that all or nothing approach.
Yeah.
Sometimes we kind of praise the whole, like, you have to be all in, locked in 100% of the time, when in reality, that's not very sustainable, and it can mess with you mentally more than anything. So I think I kind of try to see how my clients act about, counting their calories, and is that a good fit for them, and kind of meeting them where they're at. Because, it's easy to say like, oh, you need to work out more, but also you need to work out less. You need to
Yeah.
stop caring so much,
Yeah.
because that can really be detrimental if you want to reach these sustainable lifestyle changes you're hoping to get.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, you hit on a good point, is that a lot of people, there are anything, and I don't want to fall too foul of like, being like a fallacy is talk about moderation, but moderation is so important in so many things, because even things that are good for you in too many quantities when it comes to like working out, or even like simply like carbs, right? Is like, is too much, right?
Right.
But also too little isn't enough,
Right.
right? And I think that when it comes to nutrition and like people coming to like this epiphany moment that they want to make a change, is unfortunately they want that zero sum game mentality of like, it's all now. I'm not going to ever eat ice cream again. I'm never going
Right.
to eat pizza again. I'm swearing off of it because forever. It's like, but not allowing yourself to have some kind of flexibility in your goals and achieving them, and seeing that that's probably going to be more important to be in helping to be consistent.
Yeah.
Like if you, it's like, you could be the most solid type of steel, right? But if you're not bendable at all, you're
Right.
going to break.
Yeah,
And those moments happen. And that's when the people yo-yo and go back and forth.
definitely.
And that's the unfortunate way that people tend to view nutrition or even training, right? It's like
Right.
all or nothing. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, but if you miss a day or you have a cheat meal, it's not the end of the world.
No.
It's like, maybe don't miss 2 days or have two cheat meals in a row,
Yeah.
but have like the flexibility of mind to think that we got to look at the big picture here
Yes.
and not get so stretched out over one mistake,
Right.
right?
Definitely. Yeah. I even encourage, a cheat meal once in a while because food is very much in our culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're starting to not do things with your friends and family or feel anxious about those types
Mm-hmm.
of things, that's when we need to kind of have like a step back, and kind of reevaluate what our goals are and, really, dialing in on that moderation. And I don't know if you're familiar with the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, we have those healthier meals, nutritionally dense foods, and then 20% of the time we allow ourselves to have those more pleasure foods.
Yeah.
That kind of gives us more of a structure, and it may not get us to our goals as fast, but it's more likely that we're going to have sustainable goals because it's realistic.
Yeah. Yeah. And unfortunately, this world is real and you have to have realistic goals
Yeah.
to exist within it.
Right.
So, so I guess my next question to you is that, because the thing is, like, from my perspective, like, like I've been in the fitness industry probably for a good 5 to 7 years now, personal trained, whatever, all that stuff. And nutrition is important to me for sure, because it's one of the big tenets of success in what we do. But I never made that leap to do as much as you've done in nutrition and dietetics. And so, like, what was the moment that you're like, I really enjoy this and I definitely want to learn more and pursue a master's in this? Like, what was the timeline for you that you're like, I really like this and I
Yeah.
would keep going farther with it?
Yeah, I think, well, I was a personal trainer before I got into nutrition. And, I had a lot of personal training clients be very frustrated because they're working out 5, 6 days a week. They have a great program and they're showing up every single day. But when it comes to nutrition, that's where they struggle. And a lot of times they'll put the two and two together, that they need, a proper nutrition plan in place that supports their goals. And when I started just learning about, how the different macros affect our body and, the importance of, carbs before training and the importance of hitting your protein goal, I realized, like, wow, this is something that I can do with not just athletes, but with everyone. People who have, metabolic health disorders, or, people who are pre-diabetic and they don't want to have diabetes. They don't want to have these lifelong conditions. Nutrition kind of is almost like medicine. If we're able to work with people before it gets chronic, we can really stop these things from happening. And there's not a lot of fields out there that they can say that, this is the medicine before a chronic condition can happen.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, the thing is I think you hit on something that's super important that even like with my clients I talk about is like it's so important to be proactive with setting up proper, not only nutrition, but just like how would I put it? Like just lifestyle, so you don't have to some point be on a pill or medication in
Right.
a reactive setting. It's like if you just take the time now and implicate these things, it won't be too late to where we even have to fight back to get where we are,
Right.
where we want to be. So yeah, that's it's crazy how like that comes up in like everyday life at this point, especially because I mean, I also don't want to get into like big pharma or the pharmaceutical part of everything as well, but like the best thing that nutrition and being active can do is that like you don't have to use those things, right?
Right.
Or pay for those things
Right.
because you took the time and had the discipline to like kind of nip that in the bud before it ever came to be, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I've had a few clients tell me, yeah, I'm paying money for your advice and your, help with nutrition, but I'd much rather pay that amount now than have to pay for hospital visits
Yes.
and, medication in the future because we all know that that's very expensive
Yes.
and it hinders your everyday life.
Hmm.
If you have to start going to doctor's visits and taking medication every day with the side effects that can come with that, it's if we can just kind of work on these things now, then it can really help us in the future not have to go through maybe what our parents went through or other people in our daily lives struggle with, and we see that. So
Yeah, and it's very sad to, like, because that's that point, like it is just a reactive response to try to get back. But I always just think of it like your health is an investment,
right.
right? And so think of you having a piggy bank, right? Every day you drop 2 quarters in, right? And by the time that you're older, or you can even look at it as like a 401k or something, you want to like
Right.
look a little bit more in like an
Yeah.
adulting kind of situation, but or like any of that, your Roth IRA.
Yeah.
But like the thing is like the more you pay into it over time, the more it's going to pay out when it's important.
Right.
And if you don't make those small investments, then chances are that it's something. The thing is about life. Life is all about like something is inevitably going to happen. Shit's going to hit the fan. You're probably going to have health problems regardless of how well you prepare to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But at least hedge your bets,
Right.
right? And make those changes now. And then that's why also when people talk about how like, oh, personal training or having a nutrition coach or a registered dietitian in my life is expensive. Is it?
Yeah. Is it?
Is it? Because let's look at the big picture.
Right, right, right. And I'm not saying that everybody needs one, but I think if anything, having a kind of coach in your life can help if you struggle with accountability and if you
Yes.
struggle with finding that discipline in yourself, because it's, starting off is one of the hardest things you can do, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Starting off alone,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So having just somebody, even for a few months, to teach you the basics, to make you feel confident in the gym or, teach you the ways of meal prepping,
Yeah.
just to kind of give you that kick start.
Hmm.
And then once you have that confidence that you can do it, then, not everyone needs a coach forever.
No.
And I think that's the fear that a lot of them get is like, I don't want to have a coach forever. I don't need that. It's more so to just help you learn,
Yeah.
you know?
As is like a professor to a student when them to
Literally.
be in their 101 class for the rest of their lives, right?
Yeah.
It's like I want you to come in. I want to be able to teach you these things that I've learned to help to where like you can become the person that like if you had people in your family like try to like trickle down information, right? It's like
Definitely.
maybe it's not going to come from an RD, right? But it's like it's gonna be at least like this is gonna set you up to maybe like if you have kids, like
Yeah.
like hey, like these are like good like actions to put into or sorry, these are good things to put into action
Yeah,
when the time
definitely.
comes.
Definitely. Our friends, our family, I mean, if you have kids, like they notice your eating habits if you make these kind of changes. And, maybe some may judge you, right? And that's their own thing. But there are people out there that may take notice of that and
Yeah.
may ask you questions about, oh, why are you eating that? Or, oh, I noticed you're, looking different in a, like what have you been doing? So it's just all kind of like that trickle effect, like you said, like, you don't have to be an expert, but if you're making changes, other people are going to notice those changes.
Yeah. And, like I said, it's kind of like it creates like a virtuous cycle and then allowing a vicious one to continue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to wrap this question a little bit together is that because it's kind of like how I think about it is that, obviously you have been able to, upon like on your journey, acquire more and more information about how to just obviously to incorporate dieting, like a lifestyle change, like fat loss and all that stuff. So for you, like what would you say is the biggest difference how you approach like fat loss, for instance, now versus when you first started? And how would you say that like social media has played a role in that for you and still plays a role for your clients today?
Right. Yeah. Well, I definitely have clients that will, ask me questions about things they see on social media, right? So that's
Mm,
always going to be a part of my job. But I think when we think of fat loss, we typically think, what are things we need to cut out? Or what are things we need to cut out of our diet?
mm,
What do I need to do less of in terms of eating?
mm,
But I like to challenge a lot of my clients and make them think, what are things I can add to my diet? How can I get more color in my diet?
mm,
Where can I add a vegetable in? Because when we start thinking more in terms of what can I add, it makes it a little less intimidating instead of, what do I need to stop eating so much of?
mm,
Because more times than not, the more volume and more fiber you have in your diet, the less likely you are to, fall back into those unhealthier eating habits.
mm,
So I try to challenge my clients a little bit in that way.
mm.
And then in terms of the social media stuff, I encourage my clients to send me questions that they have about,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so I mean, not everything out there is bad. I think there's a lot of great RDs and doctors and a lot of great stuff out there. But the dangerous part of it is, when people start, influencers start selling products or they start pushing certain things that maybe work for them, but that doesn't mean that they're going to work for you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and yeah, that's very important because I also when I worked in the supplement industry, for example, I remember that the things that I would get the highest margins on were also the least was because they're like probably the least likely to sell
hmm
because there was actually not very much research behind them, and it was just they were making a lot of margins on them because it was almost like this product doesn't really have anything in it works.
yeah,
And so you'll find that unfortunately a lot of motivation of the fitness industry when it comes to supplementation and nutrition is people trying to just make good margins, right? And they're
right.
selling you something that they don't think works anyway. But the thing is, like, that's where you have to be so careful with social media is that
hmm
everything can be veiled to entice you. Because like, oh, oh, this is going to do all this stuff for me. That's so, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is,
Right.
unfortunately.
Definitely.
And that's the thing has been hard for me with my clients in the past is like it is unfortunately there is no like easy fix,
No.
quote unquote, right?
Right.
Because the thing is like nothing you do will work if you don't.
Right.
You have to do the work in order for things to work.
hmm
And a lot of people just don't want to hear that, unfortunately. It's like
Yeah.
you're going to have to make changes. Now, like you're saying, there's a good way to go about making these changes and not seeing it as like a negative loss versus a positive gain
Yeah.
and like rewording things and restructuring things to where people are more okay with making differences because nobody wants to make, like if we look at like human psyche in itself, like nobody wants to make changes in a way, right? The status quo is comfortable because it's what you know.
Right.
And that's the hardest thing to overcome, I think, with clients is that like you want to make changes, but you're gonna have to want to even when it's hard,
Right.
right? And
Definitely.
even when like you feel like you want to like relapse and stuff like that, you're gonna have to want that change to push through those moments too.
Yeah.
And that can be the hardest thing when you're telling people like nutritionally, because
Yeah.
food is great. Food is like one of the most comforting things that
Yeah.
a human
Definitely.
can take like
Definitely.
deal with, right?
Can't avoid it.
Exactly.
You
You
have
you
to
can't.
eat.
You have to eat,
You
right?
have to eat.
And so I think that's something I find, like I said, very interesting and very prevalent in everyday like talking
hmm
to people. So because the thing is like I thought it was funny because I was thinking of things that online. I mean, because this was probably like 10 years ago. This is gonna date me a little bit
That's okay.
as a little bit of a dinosaur at this point.
That's fine.
But there was a girl at the gym I was going to, and she was trying to lose weight. And like she was like a fairly in shape person, right? And so like I was like, okay, whatever. We're just sitting in the sauna, and she's like, "Hey, have you heard of the potato diet?"
Oh,
And yeah,
not familiar.
you're playing a great role of me in this situation. I'll have to be honest.
Do tell.
And I was like, "Oh no, what is this?" She's like, "Well, all you do is eat potatoes." And I was like, really? And she's like, yep. You eat potatoes and you'll lose a lot of weight. She's like, I'm gonna go on spring break and I just want to look good in my outfit and my bikini or whatever. And I was like, do you think that's a good idea? And she's like, yeah, I saw it on social media. That's what a lot of girls are doing. So like, they've lost like 10 pounds in no time. I'm like,
Okay.
you ever think that maybe that's just like muscle mass or, like lean
Right.
mass? And she's like, I don't know. I don't really
Water
care.
weight.
Yeah, water weight. Yeah, like exactly. It's like,
Yeah.
maybe just really dehydrated. And she's like, no, I don't care. And she did it until she's like, yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm going to pass out. But I'm like, right. I'm like, and that's the thing is like some
Yeah.
some people are just going to do what they're going to do.
Right.
I also had a guy come up to me one time. He's like, hey, got a wedding coming up in 3 weeks. I need to lose 15 pounds. I was like, oh.
That's a lot.
Oh, I was like, okay. I was like, so what do you eat? He's like, only broccoli.
Oh.
And I was like, I thought back to the potato thing. I was like,
Yeah.
kind of better than potatoes, I guess. But I was like, if we're like in a way, I was like, like if beggars or we're like going to the lowest of lows of just
Yeah.
expectations. But I was like, you can't do that. And he's
Yeah.
like, and I sat there with him for like 20 minutes and like tried to once again, coming from my layman's knowledge of nutrition. And he's like, nah, I just think I'm just gonna keep going with the broccoli and just hope it works. I was like,
Good luck.
and so that's the other side. Fortunately, most clients aren't like that, right?
Right.
But you will face kind of some of that. So do you have
Yeah.
any stories like that?
Oh gosh.
And you don't have to talk
I
too in
think-
detail, but
I think the biggest thing, especially with my female clients, is, and this is a very common topic, is I don't know, maybe you have heard of it, the 1,200 calorie meal plans.
so like just starving themselves.
Yeah, yeah. No matter how big you are or how much muscle you have or whatnot, eat 1,200 calories, you will lose weight. And that's a big thing. There's even a subreddit called 1,200 is plenty. It's very popular.
1,200 is plenty.
1,200 is plenty, which maybe for the very slight percentage of sedentary women who are maybe pretty petite.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's been one of the biggest ones, is trying to shift, especially women, into the mindset of you can eat more and still lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe sometimes we don't need to just focus on the scale, and maybe focus more on how you feel or how your clothes fit, and kind of steer away from the whole BMI, BS that is out there.
Yeah.
It doesn't obviously take into account muscle mass.
Nope.
So I think people are starting to realize that a little bit more.
Yeah, I do want to say that both my stories happened at least 5 years ago. And so I would say that the general knowledge of people that are trying to be active has risen.
Yeah.
And there is a little bit, while there is more stuff out there, I think people are hanging on to the stuff that's a little bit more credible and at least seeking out. I don't know if I would say they're seeking out proper methodologies, but they're at least seeking out research behind certain things.
Right.
And that's been nice to see, because it used to be just the the Wild West of
literally,
information. Of just
find it in a magazine.
Yeah, I found this in a magazine. Let's go figure out if it's gonna work. So I guess for all the viewers out there, just to kind of change gear, is a thing, and it is so large right now, and I want to hear your thoughts on it, because I think it's important. Obviously, because like I said, your background is protein, right? Mm-hmm. And because right now, especially, protein is in, and we can talk about this, we're going to get into it, but they're putting more protein in everything. And so protein, it is the foundation of a lot of things when it comes to this, but what are your thoughts about protein's perception right now?
Sure.
And so you can go start out why protein is important,
Sure.
and then where we are now.
Sure. Protein is, like you said, if I were to say any is, I wouldn't say one is the most important, but protein is,
Ooh.
Sorry. Shredder.
Shredder's trying to get those snowflakes.
Yeah, she is. Protein is great for, muscle synthesis. It's great for helping recovery and just, building muscle in general. It keeps you satiated and full longer than carbs would, for example. So it's great. Now, to go off that, we don't necessarily have a protein deficiency in our country. Protein is in a lot of foods that we eat every day. You know, not just meat, but beans and dairy products. But I'd say in the past 10 years, especially the past 2 or 3,
Yeah.
we see protein in everything.
Yes.
And I'm not against that, right? I'm not against protein supplements in general. What I have a few concerns though in terms of replacing balanced, nutritionally dense meals with a protein shake, right? Because you can't get all your nutrients in a protein shake.
Yep.
And cutting out carbs and fat that we still need because you're so focused on the protein. And then in terms of these readily available protein snack bars or whatever, you have to be mindful of the calories and the sugar that are in these products because they may have a little more protein, for example, but that doesn't mean that they're healthy for you. I saw this thing. It was funny. I saw it yesterday, actually. Reese's just came out with like a high protein Reese cup.
Did they?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'd love to see the macros on that.
Yeah. So what was really crazy was, so it's 10 grams of protein for
Okay.
2 Reese's cups. This guy was talking about it and he was like, the macros look so familiar. And then he pulled out the Reese Big Cup. You know how you get just that big cup?
Yeah.
The same amount of protein and calories.
Yeah.
So you're better off just having, you know, the big Reese cup
Yeah.
and, you know, call it a day rather than think you're getting, you know, extra protein in when really it's just a marketing
Ploy.
tactic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah, because I feel like this is just the low fat of this last 5 years kind of thing.
Yeah.
Low fat or no fat.
Yeah.
Because I remember when, you know, like it used to be like, oh, like you need to get like no fat in everything, like fat's the enemy and blah blah blah, and we could definitely talk about fat's role and everything like that because
yeah.
it is important and you need fat in your system.
Yeah.
Like it's irrefutable. But everybody's all about like cut out all the fat. And so I remember like buying like no fat stuff. But the problem is that what had happened is like they would add like sugar or something like that, increase the added sugars. The sodium would usually be higher on those things as well. So there would be like more preservatives or something in there as well, or like flavor enhancers.
Yeah.
And we don't have to go too down that rabbit hole, but that there's like, oh, but there's no fat, you know,
Right.
so like I'm good. I
Right.
could have this. Or I remember getting, you know, like 98% like lean beef, making it with rice. Like, there's no fat in this, so I'm just gonna dump sauce in it.
Yeah.
And I'm like completely missing, you know, the forest for the tree kind of situation.
Right.
To where nowadays it's like I have gone out and picked up the original product versus the protein plus product, and there's really not much difference. Maybe like a couple grams of protein,
Literally.
but it's more expensive. And
Yes.
so, and then the whole answer is there, right? And
Yes.
like, actually having to wade through that at this point is interesting because you're like, oh, more protein, cool. I do need a lot of that.
Yeah.
But then you're like, but like, I'm
Right.
like, yeah, why? Like, what's happening here?
Right. Anything to get more money, obviously. And people are, I think, especially women now than ever, realizing the importance of being in the gym and strength training. And, you know, companies know that now. And I mean, even like Pop-Tarts have protein Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
But they have much more calories
Yeah.
and more sugar. And it's even more processed just for a few extra grams of protein that in the grand scheme of things is not going to change, you know, your results at all, right? Like it's just like a few more grams and you could just have a piece of string cheese.
Yep.
And you'd be fine.
Yep. And you would have paid less, you know, like
A lot less money
for that string cheese.
Yeah, I can't help. I mean, I feel bad for people though, because, you know, a lot of people just see the protein on it and they get, you know, they feel good, right? And that's the whole point of it is that they think that they're doing the right thing. But in reality, it's just another way to get an extra quick dollar out of you.
Yeah.
So.
And like, how do we take that, like, that person that's happy about making a change and redirect it without discouraging them from like, buying it too? It could be the kind of difficult thing. Like, I love that you went out and got protein plus stuff. moving forward,
Right,
he's like,
right.
yeah, you could also do like these are your options as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there's like you don't like it's almost like chiding a child for bringing you with like a picture and like
I know.
it's
It's
like
like
I'm so proud of you for
yeah,
like you putting in effort and energy because a
yeah,
lot of people won't naturally.
yeah.
But so we talked about protein though, and so like what you want to go ahead and talk to us a little bit more about carbs and fats and their
Sure.
role, and like I
Yeah.
said, what's your approach with your clients when you explain that to like
Yeah.
I'm your client, like I said, tell me like
Okay.
what do carbs and fats do? Like because
Yeah.
like I was like I don't need that much, right? I just need protein if I want to put on lean muscle mass, right?
Right. I mean, I wish it was that easy. I mean, carbs are our main energy source, right? So, especially if you're somebody who's in the gym a lot, if you're training for more than an hour at a time, I'm going to recommend either some carbs at least before your workout.
Mm-hmm.
And, I would explain the difference between, a quick carb versus a complex carb.
Mm-hmm.
And then, encouraging maybe an intra-workout carb source,
Yeah.
and the importance of pairing electrolytes with carbs. So I think we still see some people who, fear carbs. That's still a thing.
Yeah.
So, I try to tell people like, hey, you need at least 30% of your calories from carbs
Mm-hmm.
because, it is the main energy source. Your body is using carbs first.
Yeah.
And then in terms of fat, I think fat gets a bad rep mainly because it's calorically dense. There's 9 calories per gram compared to 4 to protein and carbs. But in terms of a hormonal standpoint, fat is extremely important. Especially with my older women, I want to make sure they're getting enough fat in their diet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it gets a little tricky is, the healthier fat sources versus the not.
Mm-hmm.
So, keeping the saturated fat to, a certain point, but also, talking about what are healthy fat sources? What does that look like? So, encouraging cooking with olive oil or avocado oil, eating avocados and healthy nuts,
And do you even get into like polys and monos with them or
Certain people,
yeah.
and a lot of my clients track the foods they eat. So if I notice that there's some things that are a little off, then we'll start talking about them. But omega 3s versus omega 6, we'll definitely talk about that if I notice it needs to be talked about.
Because the thing about omega 6 is like they usually create inflammation and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like, but in
Yeah.
certain forms, right? Or is it like I said,
Right.
I'm actually ignorant in that. Like I know that omega 6s can be good, but they have to be paired with certain things to be good, I believe, or something like
Well, yeah, there should just be a healthy ratio
that. Okay.
between omega 3 and omega 6s. And in American culture, we're not seeing that.
Yeah.
It should be like a 1-to-4 ratio, I believe, of 3 to 6, but we're seeing it more of like a 1-to-20.
Whoa.
Yeah. So and
5 times off.
yeah, it's
Pretty bad.
it just comes back to, eating a lot of processed foods and steering away more from that Mediterranean eating, which is very big on omega 3s. So, yeah, the ratio is the big part of it. And I will get into that with certain clients who, are very great with their tracking or they rely maybe more on processed foods.
Yeah.
And that's when I kind of have to, steer them into the direction, like I said before, of how do we add more into our diet.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you bring up a point that I kind of wanted to talk to you about as well, is that you bring up tracking, right? Do you feel that like when you let people start to track that they tend to overdo it or underdo it, or how do you feel about that? Because I know from my personal experience that like I got to the point where like I had to take a step back
yeah,
because I was being too manic about it.
Yeah.
Right.
definitely. Yeah. That's how it triggered my eating disorder as well, was tracking my food.
Yeah.
So with that knowledge, I've been very careful about who I allow to track their calories versus who I don't. Tracking your calories is one of the best ways that you can't guess what you're eating, and for a fact if you are in a caloric deficit or not, or surplus. But it's not for everyone. And, if anyone has a history of, let's say, an eating disorder, or they don't like the idea of tracking their food, I don't push that on them.
Hmm.
That's when we talk more about like my plate, for example. Like, how do I make my plate look more nutritionally dense? How do I add more foods into my diet? I have clients that even just send me pictures of their meals every day,
Hmm. Nice.
just
Yeah.
stuff like
Yeah.
that, so they
The
don't have to
visual.
see the numbers.
Yeah.
So there's always ways to go around that. But I think it's good to take breaks from tracking your calories sometimes,
Yeah.
because you can get really caught up in the numbers game.
Hmm.
And that's when we kind of will notice a lot of times people are restricting a lot of food that they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
It's just not a healthy mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it comes like tracking is one of those things that like I think is easy for a lot of people to do in certain ways, but one of the things that's hard for people is like when life gets busy.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was going to lead into my next question of like, so if say that this person is tracking, they're doing everything they need to do, but life gets busy, there's unexpected events that come up, like what would be your advice to them to help them remain consistent
Mm-hmm.
despite all these alternative like things that are coming into their life? They're like, maybe getting stressed out, like, oh,
Yeah.
like things at work are really busy right now. I don't even hardly have time to prep. Like, like what do you say to them to help relax them and have them like steer through it?
Right. Yeah, I think, one of the big things with nutrition is planning. Like, even if you're very busy, if you're able to find, 30 minutes to meal prep your meals,
Hmm.
then that's going to save you a lot of stress.
Hmm.
Because, we see a lot of people who, they, let themselves get too hungry, and then they have like, oh, screw it, I just need to eat something, go
Hmm.
get fast food or whatever, and not make the best choices. So, I kind of teach people, meal prepping doesn't have to take a lot of time. It, doesn't have to be boring either. You can still make great foods,
Hmm.
but just having a plan in place is going to help lead you to more success than if you're just like, I'm way too busy this week, I'm just gonna eat at the cafeteria at my work.
Hmm.
You know, just having just something with you, even if it's just having those, healthier snack options in your office, or coming home and knowing that you have something already in the fridge that you just have to put in the microwave.
Hmm.
Those are just going to set you apart from the people that, kind of have that relapse of like, I'll just start again on Monday kind of mindset. Like, screw it, this week sucked, I'm just going to start again when I get back on track.
Yeah.
So,
Well, what do you say to those people? Like when they just like, I'm just going to like, screw it, I'll just get back on track on Monday. Like, how do you remotivate them to get back on track? Or to
yeah,
stay on track and not just say,
right,
screw the next 3 days, right?
right. I mean, I think the first big thing is telling them, you're cheating yourself out, in all honesty. Every time that you go back to that, I'll just start again on Monday kind of mindset, you're missing out on that potential to make this a lifestyle change.
Hmm.
And removing that, like we said before, that all or nothing mindset is going to make you feel more confident in being like, okay, I didn't have a great day today, but that doesn't mean that all the work I've put into this is out the window. That just means I have to try again tomorrow.
Yeah.
And getting people to think that way can be a challenge, but they have to realize there's a big difference between motivation and discipline
Yep.
here.
Yep.
Huge difference. And that's what, a coach can be great for, is educating you on discipline.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, you have to remember your why.
Hmm.
Why do I want to lose weight? Why do I want to gain muscle? And, like you said before, if we can think more extrinsic, what's it called? Intrinsic factors?
Intrinsic.
Intrinsic,
Intrinsic. Yeah, I got you.
intrinsic
Yeah.
factors. Maybe not so much of how we look, but, we want to be there for our kids. We want to be able to run a marathon.
Hmm.
We want to be able to lower our blood pressure.
Hmm.
I'm thinking more of those things rather than I want to look good.
Hmm.
I've seen that can be a better motivator
Hmm.
when people are lacking, the discipline.
yeah, figuring out your why is a huge thing,
Yeah.
right? Because that's and it, I personally, like, once again, like I felt that in my life that when I was motivated by something that was bigger than myself, it was way easier to have the discipline to do it when I was unmotivated.
Right.
But every time that it was just like, oh, I just like kind of want to look better. Like, it was hard to hold to that because it wasn't bigger than me.
Right.
It was just about me.
Right.
And if you actually want to make substantial change and hold to it and, that do that grueling day by day, like it takes, that's why, like, I tell people over and over again is that, like, the hardest, one of the hardest parts about creating a transformation is the nutrition side, because
Yeah.
it's literally every second of every day that you
Yeah.
can be impacted by it. Because, I remember, talking to some younger kids at the gym and being like they're like, oh, like these workouts, we're killing it, right? But like they're like, but we're they start being real with you at some point, like, but we're not really seeing that much change. Like, how are you sleeping?
Right.
How are you eating? And you're like, oh, it's like you gotta come to the gym, and it's like you're gonna work out for an hour or two.
That's the fun part.
Yeah, that's the fun part. Then
Yeah.
you have to go home or go to work, or you have to go out there and exist for the rest of the day. And how do you let your nutrition, your sleep, impact the rest of your decisions?
Right.
Because that's the thing, is like you're shooting yourself in the foot if you're not thinking about those things. I truly and wholeheartedly believe first, like, that the third thing on my list is my workout.
Yeah, mine too.
And it's like, because the other two things are going to make or break what the workout's going to end up doing. Like,
Right.
and I'll tell people is like, hey, you had a bad day of eating and you didn't sleep very well. Like, within reason, is it still a good idea to go work out? Sure. But it is the third most important thing after. And you've already kind of like already set yourself up for how successful you're going to be on that day
Yeah, definitely.
based on that.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
you have to look at it that way, or you're going to continuously spin your wheels.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Ugh.
That's why I got into this, is because it's hard.
Yeah, it
And
is.
I know people need help.
Yeah. Well, there's just so much, there's so much obfuscation going on where people are looking at this thing and that thing, and because this is easy, and so I'm going to go for that and whatever. And so it's like, it just drives me nuts, which leads me to my next question. Like, right now, what is like a trend that's going on in our current space that's driving you crazy that maybe you're having to deal with, either from like just observing on social media, or also maybe your clients have brought to you and you're like, no, maybe don't look at that or
Yeah.
don't incorporate that.
Well, I guess GLP-1s, I'd say, are a trend in a way. They're very popular in the last few years, and I'm not against GLP-1s at all. I think
So like semaglutide and like
yeah, so
Wegovys.
that's like a Wegovy, Ozempic, medications that are meant to alter your brain chemistry with your hunger hormones. Okay, they're supposed to kind of help you not overeat and basically eat less, is the whole idea behind them, which is really good for some people. Some people really are like, Wegovy or Ozempic, that's what helped me lose weight. And, we see a lot of influencers now talking about GLP-1s, or maybe they're not talking about them, but that's what they've been doing.
Yeah.
But, I think the frustrating part about these weight loss medications is that people aren't making lifestyle changes. They're not fixing their nutrition. And we're noticing a lot of people are losing more muscle mass than ever before on these GLP-1s, because they're not strength training, and they're not, eating the high protein diet they're supposed to be. And then when they get off of them, they end up gaining back the weight plus more. And that's really upsetting to see, that, that certain maybe doctors are just telling them to take this medication, they'll lose weight. And they don't really maybe realize or understand truly that this is not a quick fix. This is just something to help you. So I'd say like that. I don't know if that's a trend, but I'd say that that's 1 in 8 people have tried a GLP-1 with adults. And that's a lot.
That is quite a few.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah. I didn't know it was that.
Yeah, we just had a seminar about it the other day, and I was like, 1 in 8 people have tried a GLP-1.
So look at 8 people out in the street.
One of them has tried it.
Yeah, statistically,
Yeah.
that's wild.
Yeah, I'm not against them by any means. I think that they're really helpful for a lot of people, but only those that still make the lifestyle
Get him,
changes.
Shredder. Get him.
Shredder, chill.
But then, yeah, that's the thing is it's like, and this is kind of like the mentality of like when you even to like GLP-1 is a very, I would say, powerful drug, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But I think that it holds true no matter what like kind of supplementation level thing that you're going with. Is like if you don't make changes, it's not really going to change, right?
No.
And that's the thing is like, and unfortunately, I would say it's even an outlier in the situation because people have known for years or whatever that like when it comes to PEDs, right? Like PEDs are like one of those things that like people can be on PEDs, but they do at some point still have to go do something,
right?
To actually even like you can't just take PEDs and then just sit at home and a change happens, right?
We'd all be on them.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's a little bit of a different thing, but like with the GLP-1, you are going to see change even if you don't do anything, right?
So true.
More or less,
yes.
Right? Because even if you still kind of have poor eating habits, whatever, it's so, or like chances are like it's going to lessen those just because it's forcing you to by brain chemistry,
right?
Versus actually you doing anything,
right?
And learning anything,
right?
And changing anything.
Yeah, definitely.
All the things that are hard, and it's like it's enabling the people that have for so long, like people that I have had multiple conversations with, especially when I was working in the supplement industry, it's like that's just a shortcut, right? And like that's just a shortcut, and it's not actually changing anything. And if you don't actually do effective change,
right,
nothing changes.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And I think we're going to just see more and more of GLP-1s. Wegovy used to just be an injection shot, but this last month they started introducing pills.
Oral?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So, which is great because it's less expensive than the shots and more people are able to have access to them.
Is it still effective?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like,
to my knowledge.
Well, I mean, I guess it has to be effective if it's, would this be all FDA?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what company released the Wegovy pill. I'd have to look, but it's easier to get more than ever now.
Okay.
And,
Yeah, and I just want to like usually you would always learn like the oral is going to be less effective, but I'd be interested to see the studies on like the overall effectiveness.
And you don't even have to necessarily go to your primary care to get GLP-1s now.
There's
which
like
is really insane.
Vendors more or less.
Yeah, like Hims, I think.
Yes,
and hers is a big one.
Yep.
There's a few
Online
out
doctors
there that will just give you them, and that's why so many people are trying it because a lot of people are like, I've tried everything else, and I just want to try this. So yeah, it's like I said, it's going to be even more common than it is now in the next few years, which is why it's so important that when we prescribe these medications that we also encourage some type of counseling with a dietitian to talk about, what are these changes going to look like and how can you still make better choices even on the GLP-1?
Yeah, 100%. That's what's like. How do we like bundle this with something else that's actually going to change this person's life?
Yeah.
Because GLP just to like say like it is great that they exist, but I don't think that they're being they're being used in the most positive manner because like I said, we're just throwing people on them and just being like, there you go.
Right.
And yeah, so we're just having even more drastic yo-yo situations than ever.
Definitely.
I also wanted to pick your brain on something, and I cannot for the life of me remember what it's called, right? I know it's produced in Indiana.
Okay.
But it's like, are you familiar with like David bars?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Like,
yeah, the crazy macro protein bar?
Yes.
Like it's like 150 calories, 20.
Yes. And there is a fat substance or a fat source that they're making in Indiana that are going into these, right?
Oh, okay.
And it's like a breaking edge, or a cutting edge. Breaking edge doesn't mean anything, but a cutting edge development and like a lot of investments going into it, and it's something I think about how your body processes the fat that like it doesn't actually absorb it, or I might be going very far from what it actually is, but I'm not sure if you're familiar with what I'm talking about.
I've not heard of this, but I mean, all I know is that the David bars are I mean, to date, I would say like the craziest macros in terms of a protein bar. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's something that they're adding that the other companies are not. In terms of the fat, that's curious.
Yeah,
I
I think
don't.
it's something along with those lines. We'll have to do a follow up
Okay,
where
well,
we do our.
I'll do some research. I'll do some
Yeah,
research.
because I was just like, maybe, like I said, but yeah, we'll have to do some research and we'll get back with you guys on that
Yeah.
one. Because that was just something I was thinking about the other day. Because I bought a pack, right?
Did you like them?
They're good.
They're pretty decent.
They're
Yeah.
pretty good, right? And the macros, as far as the protein bar go, are
Nuts.
crazy good, right? And I was just like, but I'm always suspicious. I'm
Right,
just
you
like,
have to be
is it
nowadays.
too good to be true? Because
Yeah.
often, especially in this industry,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll look into
Yeah.
that a little bit more and then follow up on that. But we've now made it to a fun section where
Yay.
we get to take it a step back,
Okay.
and relax a little bit, and just have a little bit of fun.
Okay.
It's going to be the rapid fire section. So all it's going to do, I'm just going to ask you easy questions, right?
Yeah.
And you can answer in just a couple words quickly if you want to, but the questions are going to come fast at you.
Okay.
And take your time to respond if you want to. But like I said, if you can answer it quickly, cool. If not,
Okay, I can
no
do that.
stress.
I can do
So,
that.
favorite lift.
Bulgarian split
I
squats.
knew she was going to say this, guys. We follow each other, like I said, on Instagram, and this girl is always doing Bulgarians.
I swear by
And like, I just knew it was going to trigger me. I knew it was going to trigger me because I know how I feel. I know how you guys feel about Bulgarians. You know who I'm talking to. Wow.
Yeah.
That's good for you.
Thank you.
Good for you. Go-to recovery meal.
I love sweet potatoes. A sweet potato, some type of lean protein source, and I'm probably doing like a broccoli or something.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good plate.
Yeah.
I'd eat that.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
One food you refuse to give up. And like, I'm going to preface that with, obviously, I don't think we incorporate any much as like refusing, but one thing
Yeah.
that like, no matter like how in the trenches you are with your diet that moment, like one thing that you gotta have that you're necessary,
Okay.
most necessary.
I would say authentic carne asada tacos.
Ooh.
That's
Okay.
my favorite food.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
What is your gym music vibe? Be honest.
I actually really like trap music. Like I love like Lil Baby, Future, Gunna.
Yeah.
Like I just like music that gets me kind of hyped.
Yeah.
I'll listen to like EDM stuff too, but I'm usually going towards more the rap
Yeah.
side of it.
So coffee or pre-workout?
Coffee, I don't do pre-workout.
You don't do pre-workout at all?
No. I know.
Want to go into that? Well, why not? Why not?
Oh, I mean, I was like heavily addicted to caffeine, and that was kind of like my thing for the new year was no more energy drinks or pre-workout, and so far I'm doing pretty good. So
See, she's stronger than I am, guys.
I work out too late. It's been messing with my sleep.
Honestly, I will say that I've kind of been like, I just kind of take like an NO or something
Yeah.
because I'll get off work and I'll go work out and I'll be like, it's too late. If I do caffeine, I'm gonna ruin tomorrow for myself.
I have 200 milligrams right now. I'm
Yeah.
getting to that age where it's affecting my sleep.
That's why when people are like, you're crazy, like when I was working out at 4 a.m. and people are like, you're crazy. I'm like, this is actually awesome because I just wake up, take pre-workout, go work out
Yeah.
at work, clock in, and I just ride that energy off. And then like I said, I'm in that 13-hour window before I would go to bed, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is, I think there's more and more research coming out. Like, you need to be a couple half-lives back and more. Yeah. So like that was nice. Like it wasn't that hard. But now that I'm working out in the evenings again, I'm like, ugh,
Yeah.
can't even do it.
Literally.
So, just some advice for our listeners. Like I said, you know your stuff. Like if somebody feels like they are stuck in their journey, their nutrition journey, like what's the first thing you think they should change?
In terms of like reaching their goals, like what they need.
So whatever they're hoping to accomplish, yeah. Like what's going to get them going? Like get them some momentum.
Right. I'd say take it one day at a time. I think even, making one small change, even if it's just drinking more water
Mm-hmm.
or cutting out your late night snack. Just one thing that is realistic for you to cut out
Mm-hmm.
and building on that. You
Yeah.
know, because if you're able to do little small things, those things are going to add up.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, that would be my suggestion, or, you know, kind of reach out for accountability. You know,
Yeah.
there's always people out there that are also wanting to lose weight. So, or
Oh,
gain
yeah.
weight or whatever it is,
Yeah,
right?
they're trying to make a change,
Right.
more or less. Yeah.
Right. So having somebody that you can go to or kind of keep you on track, I think that's, you know, going to help you from not falling off again.
Yeah. And what's like one small habit that you think gives the biggest return?
Eat more fiber.
That's a good one. Yeah, honestly, yeah.
I'm big
Yeah.
on fiber.
Yeah, fiber's great. Like
Yeah.
I heard a statistic the other day that was crazy that like when we were talking about like hunter gatherer times,
Mm-hmm.
that their diets would consist of usually around like 100 grams of fiber a day.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like compared to what the average American consumes,
Yeah.
like do you know the statistic of how much they usually consume on a day? 'Cause I don't.
Well, I know. Okay. So, I guess I'll ask you, guess how many Americans reach their fiber goal each day? Like if you were to guess a percentage.
Me? You're asking me right
Yeah,
now?
I'm asking you a question.
I would say probably, I would say like maybe 1 to 2 out of 20.
Okay. I think it's anywhere from 5 to 9% of people reach their fiber goal a day, which is kind of crazy considering for women it's 25 and men it's 35 grams.
Yeah. Not that bad. Not that hard.
No, it's not, but you can see how I could be frustrated with so much protein push,
Uh-huh.
but we're not talking about fiber,
Yeah.
which is, you know, very important in terms of a lot of things.
And there's a lot of research coming out about like gut health being linked with like mental health
Yeah.
as
yeah.
well. That I think a lot of people aren't familiar with, that like gut health is a big impact is like how
Yeah.
much fiber you're consuming.
Definitely.
So maybe go have some more fiber, guys, and
Yes.
you might have, you know, like I said, you feel a little bit happier.
Maybe.
It's possible. There's
We need
research
that
out
right
there.
now. We need happiness.
We need
fiber.
If you saw what it looked like outside in Indiana right now, you would go eat fiber. You'd go.
You would go eat a can of beans.
You would go eat directly. Directly.
From the can.
I assure you. Like, so the cans are gonna fly off the shelves now. So if you could go back in time, what is something you would tell your younger self along this journey that you've gone on?
I think I would tell younger Emma that it's going to take a lot longer than you think, but you need to enjoy this process. You need to learn how to enjoy the grind of it all, because this is the fun part, is the grind, you
Yeah.
know, and realizing that you are capable of these things. You know, I was so worked up on, in 2 months I'll reach my goal weight and then I can quit doing all this stupid stuff. Like I was so focused on that end date that I kind of forgot to, you know, enjoy the process and enjoying that I can make hard choices.
Yeah.
So that's what I would tell her.
Stop focusing on the destinations.
Yeah, I was so worked up on that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm so annoying.
Enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good one. That's
Thank
just
you.
good life advice.
I try.
So Emma, I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have you.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot, and
Thanks.
you've helped teach me. And hopefully everybody like tuning in has paid attention, because there's a lot of important information that you've like I said, shared with us. So just want to let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah. Well, I just made a new Instagram. Maybe Ronick would be nice to put it on the screen. I don't remember the username. I think it's like fit with
Thanks,
Emma
Ronick.
.m or something. I don't know, but yeah, I'm posting on Instagram a lot of nutrition content. So if you're into that, that's where you can find me.
Well, on that note, here with Creature Feature, we are out, and we'll catch you guys next time. Take care.